lore heads, and welcome to the League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
And I'm Mark.
And today we are talking about the sad mummy, Amumu. Moo.
Nope, that's it. He's sad.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. We also almost named our cat Amumu. I just kept thinking about that. Yeah.
Really?
It was between Amumu or Nico because he was both curious and real sad looking.
Yeah, he had like these permanent, really, really sad eyes as a kitten. And sometimes he still gets them and he has this like a little Amumu face that he does. Anyway, tangent. Amumu was released June 26, 2009. So I think he may have been like the first batch after like the initial release, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
God.
Because Alistar was May, I think. I ended up saying. I don't remember.
Yeah.
You can tell he's one of the originals because of how much mystery is surrounding his past.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. It's really funny how that works.
I do want to talk about that with after we go over the bio. So he has a biography and one short story. Neither of them have a credited writer. I think they might be a bit older. And he has one music video, The Curse of the Sad Mummy, which I did rewatch in preparation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, after reading the other. I thought maybe I'd get more after reading his bio and short story. I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't really either. I enjoy it for what it is.
I think it's the one I watched the most out of all of the cinematics. I think I've seen that one the most.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, he does quite have that mysterious backstory nobody knows about, but I feel like it works a lot more for Amumu. And I think we could talk about why after we talk about his bio, which Mark is going to give us today.
Sure, yeah. So I think the author... sorry. I did find the author for his story, I will say. It's Anthony.
Did?
Yes, and it's also the same author of Nasus's bio. It's Anthony Reynolds Linnae, I think is how it's said.
Cool.
But yeah, found that on the wiki. So again, shout out to the wiki, because those guys, man, killing it.
On top of it.
I know. Right. I keep just looking at the Riot Universe page, and apparently Wiki is better at crediting Riot creators more than Riot is.
Yeah, you know. All right, so Amumu. Amumu is a mythical figure said to haunt the deserts of Shurima, cursed to be lonely for eternity. Amumu is wrapped in folktales and legends, many of which offer conflicting accounts about him. Some say he was a young prince of ancient Shurima who was afflicted with a wasting disease, quarantined and left alone. Topical.
God.
You're right. Amumu's one friend was a servant girl who would talk to him through his door, and upon receiving word that the last of his brothers had died, the girl came into Amumu's room to offer him solace, and he inadvertently afflicted her with his disease, killing her. And then Amumu was cursed. Yeah, it's real sad. Amumu was then cursed to an eternity of loneliness by the girl's distraught grandmother. Other tales argue that Amumu was a cruel child prince who ruled his subjects tyrannically. Seeking the legendary Eye of Angor, he forced his cohort of slaves to brave the traps of an ancient tomb at their own peril, and upon reaching the crypt, his remaining slaves rose up and sealed him in, trapping him for eternity, again cursing him to win a lifetime of eternal sadness. And finally, other stories claim Amumu is an ancient yordle, the only one to ever rule Shurima. This yordle emperor was convinced of the kindness in the hearts of mankind and lived as a beggar in search of one true friend. The yordle was not helped by a single one of his former citizens until... until eventually he died of a broken heart, cursed to wander the wastes in sadness. All of these and more constitute the ever-growing myths attempting to explain the haunting sounds of despair that echo across the Shuriman landscape. And that's Amumu. At least bio-wise.
So which story do you think is true? I hope it's the second one, is all I can say. That he was a tyrant and then got his comeuppance.
As opposed to just being like a nice person who's just cursed forever to be alone.
The first one is truly heartbreaking. His entire family died, and then he accidentally killed his best friend, and then his curse. It's the most devastating.
Which I think kind of makes it the most appropriate. I mean, I will say that I think what we're supposed to take away from this and the story, which we can talk about after we kind of go through that, is that, you know, there's truths in all of it, right? Like, I would imagine the truth is supposed to be somewhere in the middle. Like maybe he was a child prince, and you know, ancient Shurima had slaves, and I don't think that even if he was like good in the first story, he probably still would have been like the emperor of a kingdom that leverages slave labor, right? You know?
Yeah, especially as like a child. He probably made impetuous decisions that
Exactly, right.
made him appear evil to others.
Yeah. I want to say in that the bio, I kind of skimmed over it, but they specifically talk about in that second story him being given to bouts of tantrums like a child, like a kid would be, like a 5-year-old, right? So
Yeah, which makes sense. He is a child.
yeah. So I think I would say realistically, it's supposed to probably be I think it's supposed to be somewhere in the middle. Like he probably was
A little bit of
Yeah.
each.
tyrannical, but
Yeah, I think because there's like they all have a couple of truths that are the same across the board.
yeah.
And those are obviously true. And then as opposed to what actually happened, I don't think we'll ever know, which is interesting. And what's really unique about Amumu is that and I think it really works for his lore and his bio, he's kind of a ghost story to us even. And I find that really interesting, that we only know anything about him because people tell stories. And I think they initially made that because, they weren't doing much lore yet. But I kind of like how they kept it, so that he's just truly a mystery of a creature that is ancient and very depressing.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's kind of like a, Shuriman Joker. You just never know what the truth is.
No, I feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for the Joker. But
I will say, I think he's definitely one of a few champions who are like that, who sit in that place of being, mythical, legendary. And so what we're going to get about them lore-wise is going to be pretty vague and, wishy-washy. And I think I agree that I like a lot for Mumu. I think it makes sense. I think it might get old pretty quickly, especially since coming up we got Anivia and Bard, who I both think are going to completely be that. I could be wrong.
Oh no.
But
And
I think-
Alistar was also that. He was kind of just some kind of, and who also just had like one friend who was a servant girl. They have a lot
I
of
did think that was
parallels.
really funny. That that's like, oh, right, like back to back. It's like, throw a servant girl in there quick.
On the bright side, I do think Bard will probably have a bit more to work with just because of how more recently he was released. My guess is that they would have, they'll have a little bit more solidly. I fully expect Anivia to not have a ton, but I guess we'll find out when we get there.
Yeah. Make your bets. Place your bets.
Place your bets on Anivia, how much Anivia lore there is. Actually, I already peeked. I know how much there is. I'm sorry. I was looking at who came next.
How many alternate universes is she a part of?
I think she's
Katie,
in none.
Anivia.
She's in the America one because she's got the red, white, and blue skin.
Fuck yeah.
I think that's it. Amumu, I was really hoping would have a lot of alternate universes because he has,
So many skins.
I think, maybe more skins than anyone except maybe Annie,
Oh
and
man.
because he just lends himself to skins, doesn't he?
He is just
Yeah.
adorable.
Yeah. Did anyone else feel bad reading his lore? Because I feel like I laugh a lot at Amumu. I find him really funny in game because he's like very over the top sad and his voice is like, oh. And then reading this story of him like crying eternally as a cursed child, I'm like, why? Stop making me feel bad about laughing at Amumu.
Yeah, I thought about that as well because I was trying to think about. We talk sometimes about like how does the lore relate to the gameplay, and I was like, man, they're like so. I don't want to say far removed, but the depiction is like you said, it's a much more comical one, and that's what lends to all those great skins where it's like, I want that little knight of Mumu, man. He's so sad, But then the lore, it's like really, it's genuinely depressing if you really give it an ounce of like seriousness to it. It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
The whole ghost story aspect too makes me wonder if that Amumu bot like bug was intentional or not.
With the laughter?
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
god.
because that was very ghost story-y.
Yeah.
When he just laughs and everyone on the whole map hears it.
That was really funny. Are there videos of that? Because that shit was hilarious.
There must be.
There has to be. Yeah. I always, every time I play Amumu in ARAM, which is the only game mode we play, I love spamming his laugh, and I wish that everyone could hear it everywhere.
But yeah, the ghost story is an interesting comparison because I obviously that's what the story is, and we can talk about that a bit, I guess. But I really liked it. I thought it was a really good way to handle Amumu because I don't know what the hell you do with him otherwise.
I agree. I don't want anything from Amumu's point of view, to be honest, unless it's
Yes.
a redemption arc for him and he gets to remove the curse somehow in some kind of AU. I would love that. Please, Riot, give me an Amumu happy ending, even if it's an alternate universe.
Ascended Amumu.
Ascended Amumu. I don't have to know what he is or what his true backstory is. Amumu doesn't even know anymore. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'd be down with that. So I'll get into the story a little bit because this is kind of going on the ghost story bit. This is a story told by a man named Khaldoon, and basically he's telling it as a ghost story. He's kind of regaling young children with the tale of this haunted mummy.
Literally around a campfire at nighttime.
Yes.
Yes.
So in his story, there was a young man basically who didn't have a lot of money, and he had children and a wife to provide for. So he decided
To grave rob.
he was going to grave rob, like we all do when we need a quick infusion of cash. You go to your nearest grave and you scope out the sitch.
I think that's a pretty common thing in Shurima. Looking at the region page, it seems like that's mostly what people do.
I will say he did grab one thing from the
Yes.
crypt and then was like, now I got to get out of here and leave room for these other people that are inevitably going to rob this
It is
crypt.
really
That's
smart.
true. And honestly, it's not unrealistic even to our world. In like the 19th century, it was pretty common to rob graves. A lot of people would sell cadavers because doctors couldn't legally experiment on cadavers. They weren't donated, so they would buy them off of, I don't remember what they were called, but people who would dig up bodies and sell them to doctors to experiment on.
I mean, we're still robbing graves. We're just like calling it conservation and putting them in museums.
Ouch.
Too real. So anywho, he goes into this grave and he sees a bunch of pictures on the wall basically depicting the life of a young prince. And that's when he finds this golden, basically like a golden statue. And he's like, all right, I got all I need. I can sell this for more than I could ever make. I'm out. But then he hears a noise from deep inside the crypt.
Okay, you're not telling the ghost story, honey.
I'm spooked.
Be.
I'm on the edge of my fucking seat, man.
He heard it. A sound in the darkness that made his skin crawl. He's all like, who's there?
Wow, you really broke the the ghost story
No, I
voice
thought I kept
so
it up.
quickly.
He hears the sound of a child, so he's pretty sure this is not on the level. But just in case, he's like, God, I can't just leave this child here just in case it's actually a kid. Like maybe there's a back entrance that some kid got into. I hate this. I hate everything about it, but I'll go check it out, I guess.
Real quick, would you go deeper into crypt?
Fuck that kid. I've got my golden statue. I've accepted that other people are about to come here and rob this grave. They'll find the kid.
You know what?
It's
that,
crying.
yeah, you've convinced me. I was gonna say no just to look like a better person, but you're right. There's like a trail of dudes. There's a line. It's fine.
Literally, there's
This kid's
tickets.
fine.
Yeah.
People take grave robbing tickets.
But he's a dad himself, so his paternal instinct kicks in, and he, unfortunately, goes to check it out. Now, he hears a crying sound, and he comes across a wide chamber, and its floor is very reflective. He thinks it's basically black obsidian, because the rest of the caves were kind of black obsidian. He sees kind of a young figure in the room, just kind of with his back turned to him. So he takes a step in the room and then realizes that it's not obsidian, it's actually water. What is this? Water? So he scoops down and tastes some, and it's salt water. Impossible. What? How could this happen? He's so close from a sea.
I'm hella grossed out that he just drank tears, by the way.
Spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, seawater. He drank seawater. We don't know it's tears yet.
Some salty liquid.
It could have been anything.
Could have been anything.
So he runs in, he sees the figure, and he's like, what are you doing here? You lost? How'd you get here? And the figure replies, I don't know. I don't remember anything. So he's like, oh, don't worry. I'll get you out of here. And he goes towards the figure. But that's just an obsidian statue. All of a sudden, he feels a small, dry hand grab his.
Oh, fuck.
Mark is playing the part of the youngest of the listeners,
Yeah.
who then gasped at that point in the story.
And yelled, oh, fuck.
It's in the lore.
Paraphrasing.
Read it, folks.
I'm a method actor. What can I say?
So he looks down and he sees a tiny wrapped corpse with dull, ghostly light emanating from the boy's eye sockets. His entire face covered in burial wrappings. "Will you be my friend?" the boy asked. Dude's freaked out at this point. Obs. And he turns to his hand and sees that where the child touched him, it's beginning to shrivel and turn black and withered. And he freaks out. He runs out of there. He can't get out fast enough. And as he leaves the court, or as he leaves the tomb, he hears a little voice from inside say, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to."
You sound like an anime character.
And thus, the tomb of Amumu was unearthed. At this point, all the kids around the campfire are like, that's not real.
That's not true. Amumu is real.
I hear he's a yordle. Whatever,
Says someone else. He's real, but he's not a boy. He's a yordle.
Oh, God.
Anywho, his crowd disperses, and then one child stares up at Khaldun and says, "Grandfather, how did you lose your arm?" And old Khaldun looks down at the empty sleeve pinned at his shoulder and flashes the girl a grin, says, "Good night, little one," with a wink. The end.
Real quick, neither of you know what a fucking summary is. You just paraphrased the whole story. But
No,
it was fun.
But it's you can't just paraphrase a ghost story. That would be lame.
Mine is one paragraph, but the other one was 3.
So this guy gets a phone call and he answers it, and the person on the other line's like, "I'm in your house."
Oh, I thought we were still
See,
on
it
the movie
sucks,
for a second.
right?
Okay, well, that's how we're gonna.
We're transitioning into a stage play for
A spook cast. Tune in next week for our spooky podcast.
For the haunted bird. Well, this is how we're doing the summaries from now on, I guess. Unless there's too much new champions, there's too much crap.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, Amumu doesn't have a ton of side stories or other lore to go through, so we've got a little bit more leeway on him.
Jazz him up a little bit, put a little zazz on him.
So how do we feel about this story?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I would definitely recommend reading it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was cute. I do like the ones that are from someone else's point of view as a bit of an outsider. I don't know if I've liked one yet from the champion's point of view. I mean, I've liked them, but I haven't really liked them. My favorite ones tend to be the ones that are from somebody else's point of view.
Gotcha.
But I also haven't found a champion yet that I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Maybe a collie.
Your champs yet?
No, we haven't.
Yeah, and a collie stories, from that other.
Faye.
Her long one, at least. I guess her
that
short
collie,
one's from her point of view.
Yeah, that one wasn't too bad. But yeah, I liked it a lot. I think, I had when I was putting my notes together, I was like, what the hell would you even do with a Amumu? And I'd said it earlier, and I think, yeah, a ghost story like this is actually the best, probably, way to handle him, frankly. If you're going to go with him being so ancient and mythical and, we're never going to know these actuals,
Yeah, exactly. And there were a few points in it, too, that I liked when they kind of showed up in his music video, I guess. I know in the first time that I watched the music video, when he's kind of, going all over the place, he goes through a lot of areas and everyone kind of runs away from him. And I thought that was, to go along with he's cursed to never have a friend type thing. Even the plants are running away from him. I don't even, I think it was the second time I watched it where I realized how much everything was dying as he passed by too.
Yeah, it's whatever he touches, right?
Well, everything even remotely near him. But in the final town where he freaks out and destroys everything, I noticed that he's standing in front of a bunch of plants. There are a bunch of plants nearby and they're not dead, but then when they do that whole thing where the curse whispers in his ear, those little curse demons were dancing around him and everything, and whenever they got close to things, then everything died, which I thought was interesting.
So it's not Amumu, it's the curse around him.
Yeah. Which
that's interesting. I didn't pull that detail from. I rewatched it for this, and it's probably my second favorite piece of creative work from Riot, but I just sit and watch.
What's your first favorite?
I won't say. We'll talk about it when we come to it.
Oh God, it's gonna be so long from now, probably.
Nope, it's
that one Yasuo one, man. No,
we'll get lucky. It's the one Anivia cinematic.
There is no
one
Anivia.
the release trailer.
Oh fuck!
Where you just see all the champions standing on the cliffside,
and she's like sitting there flapping. Oh man, yeah. I guess I was gonna say how much like credence, like if we want to look at this as like trying to piece together more of Amumu, because we get the wall carvings, right? Like we could, like, are we gonna say this is pretty true? Everything in this, the arm seems to lend a lot of accuracy to his account.
Yeah, that's true. There is like the wall paintings, and they seem to favor the second story the most in, the ones that were in his bio, where he was a bit of a tyrant.
Yeah, it would seem so, because they kind of depict him ruling over people, and when he dies, they say the people around him despairing, so I guess he would assume his family.
Yes.
But then everyone else behind him is like, thumbs up, thank fucking God. Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty right that it seems like the second story is probably what we're seeing here.
Yeah, so then you have to wonder if this was painted right when he was buried or sometime later.
It's a good question. I mean, the fact that the fact that it is a tomb, that's the only difference, I think, is that when we look at the second story, that's about him going out to go find something and breaking into a tomb and getting trapped in there. And in here, if there's all these depictions of him, you would kind of assume that this is his tomb. And in a more realistic perspective, like, he probably didn't break in and get trapped within. It was probably more like, he died and he got put in a tomb. And maybe, maybe, you have the death of an emperor, especially a child emperor, probably not like power vacuum. Maybe it gives the slaves a chance to rise up and, cause some turmoil, and then you get that transmuted into the story, across ages and ages, to where like, they rose up and trapped him in the tomb. Whereas the reality, it was more of like a large scale political thing. That happens in real life.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, I think, two possibilities now for these hieroglyphs on the wall. One, he was, revered enough after death that they gave him a fancy tomb, but then also hated him enough that they carved this shit on the wall to be like, hey, when he died, we fucking loved it. Look at all these laughing people.
That's true.
Or they like,
that's true.
It was like the, I guess, olden day, like medieval, God, not medieval, like way before medieval, just olden time.
Ancient, honey.
Ancient, that's the word I'm looking for. They have these like ancient.
I wait with bated breath.
Why can't I think of the name of this goddamn word?
Propaganda?
You got me.
No, when you
paint. Depict.
This is interesting.
This is a new game.
Vandalize. God. You ever have it where the word just disappears
Thumbs
from
down,
your whole goddamn brain? Yeah. We just have these like ancient vandals that
I'm gonna cut the rest of that out, don't worry. It'll just sound like you said ancient.
These ancient vandals just sneak into the crypt and like giggle to themselves as they're like etching things into this obsidian wall. It's like old school, just like spray painting
with their chisels and the fucking hammer.
Or they
quick draw dick on him.
Right? They don't tell that in the story, but there's dicks all over this wall. That's canon, folks.
It's not canon.
He chose to omit that from his story. It doesn't serve the narrative.
To the children. Somebody wrote dick butt all over his face, children.
Oh man,
bananas.
He would get vandalized. It was like, especially like if you had spray paint, people would spray paint Amumu constantly. He would just get tagged constantly.
Amumu tags.
Make it, Riot.
One of the lines in the music video is, "Every child in Valoran has heard the tale before." Valoran is it's the northern section of Runterra, but not the super north, because there's a whole ton of like unexplored or unrevealed shit on the map. But it's the northern section of the main continent of Runterra. I guess it's kind of separated into 4 sections, like Valoran.
So it's not the whole continent.
Correct. The bottom
Interesting.
is Shurima. So when they talk about how every child in Valoran has heard the tale of the mummy, like Valoran's not even part of Shurima. Shurima and Valoran are completely separate places.
Yeah, I knew that. I thought it was the whole northern continent. I didn't realize it was just a section of it.
Everything but Shurima.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's kind of like North America and South America. Like North America is like Valoran, South America is Shurima, and all the ocean is Oceania, and then Australia, I guess, is Ionia, which is just kind of off in the ocean.
They're just over there in
Yeah.
the spirit realm, fucking around, doing their own thing.
Yeah, I didn't realize, actually, I think until I started looking into this too, like I assumed that Ionia was just kind of equivalent to like a Demacia or a Noxus in terms of, I guess, importance of the world. I didn't realize that Ionia was its own like full section like Shurima or Valoran. That was news to me.
Yeah, I should really look at a map or something.
Okay, but here's a question. Is that just a byproduct of this thing getting created when Valoran was the world? Because I'm 99% certain that Valoran was just the name of it is what Runterra is now. Or it was what Runterra is now.
Could be.
I mean, if not, it's fine. I think it makes sense that it would spread across, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the first thing they've retconned.
Oh, for sure. Like this is where I draw the line, right? On the fucking Amumu music video.
And also, I mean, I don't know, you could stretch it to make sense as well. Assuming that everyone in Shurima knows who Amumu is, they're saying that his legend is so big that it has spread north, I guess, and even they know of it.
What I want to know,
He even is in Valoran. Or Valoran, however we're saying it.
do the children of Ionia just not give a shit? They
Right?
probably wouldn't anyway. I guess there's spirits everywhere in Ionia. They're
right.
like, oh, and there's a spirit who walks the land and cries. Like, yeah, they're fucking everywhere. I wish they'd shut the hell
That
up.
one? Giant trees actively trying to fucking kill him. Yeah.
I'd actually love that story.
They try to bring ghost stories to Ionia, and they just don't care.
Yeah, no, that would actually be probably, if you did want to do something with him long term, there, Shadow Isles, those seem like the only 2 places I would put him.
I was gonna say, maybe
where
that's
the fuck else you gonna put him?
maybe that's specifically why they do call it, because Valoran and Shurima are the only 2 areas where ghosts aren't fucking everywhere all the time.
Yeah, frankly, they're in the
Go
minority.
to Bilgewater,
So
like,
shit.
you won't believe it. I heard about a ghost.
Oh, cool. Does it try and kill you? Like actively murder you?
Because we've
No, it's
got
just
some
sad.
black mist coming up that's actively trying to fuck us right now.
I don't know much about Bilgewater.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ghosties there.
They the black
kinda,
mist comes from the Shadow Isles to get them every now and then.
Okay, I have heard of
Yeah,
the
the
Shadow Isles.
harrowing.
The harrowing,
You know, the
yeah, that's the
Halloween
Halloween
event,
event they do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is. It's the ghosties
Yeah.
from the Shadow Isles attacking Bilgewater.
That's way less fun than trick-or-treating.
There's probably trick or treating too.
They're fucking hardcore there.
Take free candy when you can
Fuck.
get it.
One thing I liked about Amumu's lore was how, like, smaller scale it was. There weren't, like, massive wars or, like, entire, like, communities falling. It's literally just about this one boy.
That is nice every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have to worry about, just these massive armies and war. I can't keep track of y'all. You had too many battles. You gotta stop.
Amumu shows up in Nasus's bio. Just a little bit. The tiniest bit.
Tiny.
But apparently, tiny bit. But apparently, when Nasus was a human, he was afflicted with a wasting disease, and some people say that he was, cursed by the ancient mummy Amumu. So that should give you a sense of how old Amumu is, because this is like he was considered ancient when Nasus was still like a human.
Pup.
A pup. Yeah. Ugh.
I don't know what Nasus
Yeah,
is, so except a dog.
He's one of those Shuriman Ascended, which we talked about a little bit.
Oh,
but
that's right.
He's also from an ancient time, like him and Azir and all them. So the fact that Amumu was like an ancient
Already ancient.
legend, yeah,
He thinks he's ancient. Amumu's ancient.
yeah, he was ancient before it was cool. Fits right into the Emumu skin.
Although apparently the sun disk did already exist back when
Yeah.
he was around and young.
That is true.
So either that or people are just really looking for ways to add this sun disk into their old tales.
What is the sun disk?
Oh, we'll get to the sun disk.
Well, don't just
Yeah.
throw it out there.
It's a big Shuriman thing. It's like a big monument, would you say? And like it's a source of power and just all sorts of things. It's like a massive
Creates
cultural
ascended, or it's like
Yeah.
used for the ascended ritual rather. And
Gotcha.
It's like in their crest. It's their,
Leona, right?
MacGuffin, I
yeah,
don't know.
if you look at the, in game, the Azir turrets,
Yes.
it's kind of like a little sun disk on all of his turrets.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, because in the old lore, they used to have an explanation for what Summoner's Rift was and why they were fighting in it. Is that something they still do?
No.
Okay, good.
No, that was like the biggest goal of the rework of all the lore was to get rid of it.
Eliminate what was the name of it? The college.
I was trying to remember this the other day and I couldn't. What the fuck are they called? I don't know. It was a whole body. I used to know it, and I don't remember it anymore. It really is bugging me.
The idea of Amumu being there was really very funny to me.
I read his old lore just to see how much carried over, but I don't remember it. That was one that was a paragraph, and that was it.
John,
I'm sure he just showed up at the league one day, and they said they'd help him find a friend or something. Didn't it used to be? Speaking of old lore, didn't it used to be that he and Annie, he liked her, but she didn't like him, but they were still friends, and they kind of he was just happy to have that friend. Like this is back when they were the summoners shit existed.
Oh, I don't even remember.
Oh, I want that to still be true, because I really like the idea of his one friend being this demon child.
Well, I mean that's why she's the prom queen and he's the almost prom king.
Yeah, that would make sense too. Some of my favorite league skins, by the way. Almost prom king Amumu. Like that's hilarious.
Right.
Like why did they?
That's obviously somebody's projection. Somebody was like, you know what, fuck you, Chad.
Institute of War. That was...
Yes! Oh, man. You unlocked like a flashback memory in my brain.
Oh God.
God.
They employed summoners who acted as the supreme government over Runterra and its people.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
2014 was when they cut the cord on that one. They're like, nope, just kidding. And there's still I think there's probably even still some lore lines in there that haven't been updated yet. Like, did they ever fix Sonas, or does Sona still say,
not.
only you can hear me, summoner?
Yeah,
I think
because it used to be that you were kind of weirdly controlling them. Like you could force Sona to just go die to turrets for an hour.
Which is what I do, baby. Just not on purpose. I'm just bad.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine it. All those summoners, because they're always constantly twirling their mustaches and just being like, "We're obviously corrupt and evil fucks. And, how can we abuse you?" And it's like this little crying child. It's like, eh. Yeah.
Why did they take that out?
Well, if I remember correctly, they got rid of it all because it bound all the champions to. You have to have a judgment. Like, why are you in the league? All these things. They can't go out and do shit in the world, in a significant way because you're tied to this. It's like a giant, anchor around every champion's neck in terms of narrative development.
Yeah,
I guess was the big deal. Anything else on Amumu? He gets hugged by Nar in the Playtime for Nar comics.
Oh, he got a hug.
Yeah, those are actually pretty cute. They're all little one-panel things of Nar trying to play with champions. So Cassiopeia ults Teemo, and then Nar goes and just stands still in front of her because he thinks that's how she plays. No, it's just the cute little things. And yeah, he just hugs Amumu. That's literally it. There's no joke. It's just
And he doesn't
a little
die?
heartwarming.
No,
he doesn't die. He doesn't waste. He doesn't waste away.
Wow, turns out this whole shit he hasn't been cursed this whole time. It's just no one wants to be around. We could have been hugging him this whole time.
Oh, then why'd that guy's arm die?
Completely unrelated.
He
just made up the whole story.
He looks like a really dumb accident.
I have a comic I wrote about Amumu.
Yeah, John had this
It's
period
not canon.
He had this period of time where he was just making little league comics in a sketchbook. What was the joke in it, honey?
God, it's gonna be hard without the visual.
Oh, okay.
But
the best way to
Teemo and Tristana, I think, were fighting, and were having a spat, and then Teemo was like, fine, I don't need to be your friend anyway. I'll be friends with. And then he turns around and sees Amumu, and Amumu kind of smiles at him. And then he turns back towards Tristana, and he's like, well, I'll find someone.
Funny.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Jokes are always really
picture
good
it.
when you can explain them.
Yes, especially if they're visual. You're welcome.
If we ever make a Twitter for this, we'll take pictures of your comics and post them.
Okay.
I don't think I have any more thoughts. I do like Amumu more now, I think, although he makes me sadder. We'll see. Maybe I'll still laugh at him when I play him next time.
You'll laugh, but you'll have like a little bittersweet tear. Makes you more into playing Amumu, frankly.
I'm usually crying when I'm playing League, so it'll fit.
Hey.
Okay, I think we're good. That's everything about Amumu. You're welcome, everybody.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed John's ghost story.
I fucking did. Are you implying that someone wouldn't?
No, never. I would never.
Okay.
I'm real good at Ghost.
You really set the bar. You set the standard for how we're gonna have to do this shit going forward.
I know. So John and I do another podcast together called A Series of Unfortunate Sequels, where we watch the highest rated movie and lowest rated movie in a franchise and talk about them. We're about to start on our Christmas movies, so that'll be exciting.
Yay.
Yay.
What about Dolly Parton's Christmas on the Square?
That's not a franchise, but I just want to announce to anyone listening, that movie is weird as fuck, and
10 out of 10.
I somehow am glad I watched it, but regret watching it at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, that's an accurate description.
All right, well, thank you for listening, and join us next week when we get to talk about the Cryo Phoenix Anivia.